Well, what a weekend it's been in the Premier League. 21 goals on Saturday alone. And that's not all. There was Sunday as well. And all of this we'll talk about right here on the preview show on Golden Goal TV. The penultimate show before the World Cup. It's coming, people. It's coming in 2 weeks. But yes, let's take the Premier League on right now.
Fitting way to do so. Can it's him. Back to Balotelli. It runs for Aguero. They've done it!
Hazard still on the ground as Charlie Adam goes for goal here. Oh, and he scored!
And was by Stones. Andrew Townsend! A field of minutes. And Aaron Ramsey starts and ends. An immaculate. Trying to find a way through.
Yes, welcome to the Premier League preview show. Yes, it's been a great weekend. First of all, let's introduce the panel because it's a good one. Back after a few weeks, I think you've been on when I wasn't hosting. Abdi, welcome back.
How are you doing, my friend?
I'm all good. Haven't been seen you for a while. Good to have you back. Oh, and there's plenty to talk about, that's for sure.
There is.
And of course, in the producer's chair, it's Matt. How's it going?
I'm good, thank you. Been a bit of a chaos with the trains, as a lot of people will know from the weekend, and if you've been travelling. But I'm back and I'm raring to go.
Yeah, I wasn't sure which train I was going to catch today, and whether I was going to make it, because you never know which train's going and coming and going, and yeah, it's chaos. It's chaos out there. Do think carefully when you travel if necessary. Yada yada yada. Right, let's get on with the game. So Saturday alone had 21 goals in the Premier League. Defenses couldn't be bothered very much, and we'll start with the game that probably had the most goals in it, and that is Leeds-Bournemouth. So 4 goals for Leeds, 3 goals for Bournemouth. Bournemouth were 3-1 up, I believe.
Yep.
Abdi, that was certainly a thriller game picked for radio, which probably no one expected.
Yeah. Sometimes you just end up getting an absolute gem of a game. And that was one of them. Bournemouth are a weird team. They'll do well. They'll race to a 2-goal lead, and then afterwards they get too comfortable and then just let it slip. You're thinking Leeds were out of it. There was 30 minutes to go, but Leeds, after winning at Anfield last weekend, you would say Bournemouth and Liverpool, 2 different sort of opposition in terms of standard, but they found a way and they came back and they won it 4-3, which is just mad. 7-goal thriller. People must have enjoyed that. Good game to watch on Match of the Day, because it was a 3 p.m. kickoff. So it's a shame that we can't watch those kind of games on TV if people want to watch it, happening in person. But for Leeds, they've sort of been on a slide before, like for a little bit, and then sort of bounced back with the win against Liverpool, and then continued it sort of with this one and kind of got away with it a bit. I know there was pressure mounting on Jesse Marsch, but I think he saved his job and secured his job for a while longer with the win at Anfield and then the win here. So at the end of the day, what's most important for Leeds is getting the wins on the board, getting points in the bag, and getting on with it, really.
Yes, Leeds carry on to be. I still think, okay, they had a little slide, but I still think Leeds are very much a surprise package at the moment still, because of how many of us have been relegated. Matt,
except for me.
Yes, you did it. To be fair, we all, you kind of saw them. I mean, it's an interesting one, really. Matt, talking of Bournemouth, I mean, I doubt Bournemouth will appoint a new manager before the World Cup. Is Gary O'Neill going to stay after, or do you think during that break they're actually going to find a manager?
Maybe that's one of the things that they're thinking about. Maybe the manager that they're looking at the moment, maybe he's already employed and they're thinking, well, let's do it at the end of the season, get it over and done with, give the current interim manager a little time to settle. we've also with the World Cup that gives players breaks, time to recharge, get the energy, and it'll be the same for the managers as well. They'll be eyeing up some of those players as well, trying to scout them, make sure that maybe look at them in the January window. I think we'll probably talk about that when it comes to the transfer show. But Bournemouth do need a manager in charge, and I think it's just going to be one of those ones that doesn't happen for this game. Just on the stats alone, when I can get that. So Leeds had 4 shots on target, all of the goals, and 18 shots on goal. Bournemouth had 6 on target and 9 shots overall. So, as Abdi was saying about Bournemouth not pushing that advantage, it is a bit of a worry, especially with them now being 18th, not 18th, so 17th. Sorry, it's a bit of a worry for them, but they need to be pushing up. And you would have thought that they would have been sniffing around trying to find a new manager. There's plenty of managers that are free, so maybe it's just a case of trying to fit the profile of the club at the moment.
I mean, on one hand, I'm quite surprised I'm surprised they haven't picked a new manager yet, unless they are kind of giving Gary O'Neill a bit of a chance. But it's quite surprising on one hand. I think, to be honest, I don't know if I would have held off for that long, especially when there's very credible managers available out there that could have easily taken the job. But we shall have to see what happens. Bournemouth have Everton next twice, so it'd be interesting. Right, moving on. Yeah, they've played Everton in the League Cup as well. So yeah, back to back.
For Bournemouth, they're in a similar boat as us.
Yeah, you've got Villa
and Everton.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I really don't. The double thing against the same person.
It's a bit strange, really. But it makes things interesting because it then makes you look differently at these fixtures. Next,
it's the second time it's happened to us this whole year as well. Happened in the FA Cup as well.
Yeah, you've had that before.
And in the league.
It's like, what?
Yeah.
It's too close together. Right, next game then. Manchester City. Now, you tell me if anyone here had the score to be 2-1 to Man City. Probably not many. So Man City down to 10 men with Cancelo sent off.
Shame.
Was that the right decision?
Yeah. They body checked him in the penalty area. Yeah.
And Fulham. I mean, would you class them also as a surprise package based on how they're doing, Abdi?
No, because as I said earlier as well with the Leeds thing, I was one of the other people who didn't say Fulham would go down. As I said earlier, like in the earlier shows, I thought Fulham would do well and stay up this season. I think they're exceeding more of my expectations. I didn't think they'd be as high as well as they're doing, but I did think they wouldn't get relegated and give most teams a go, and that's what they've been doing. They've been picking up points. Mitrovic has been their star man. They didn't have him this weekend though, so I feel like they were very unlucky not to come away with a point. The penalty incident for City was very soft, and yeah, they scammed their way to 3 points, and I feel for them. They done well. City were dominant, as they always are, even with 10 men. They were still, they probably did in the end deserve the 3 points, but not in the way that they got it. But yeah, it's a shame. I feel for Fulham, but hopefully, I know they've got us on Sunday. I'm not going to say hopefully they bounce back next weekend. Hopefully they find the form after the World Cup. After the World Cup.
Hopefully, they're not playing us yet, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Matt, when it comes to City, I mean, I've heard City fans after the game, people saying City are world dominating, which they're not, and apparently the Premier League is the best league out there, but they can apparently win the league with 10 men, some City fans said. Great. What did you think?
Well, I wasn't expecting for them to really have a go, and you would have thought these are the sorts of games that in previous years Fulham would fall apart. They would lose these like 5-0, 5-6-0, something like that, and it would all go to plot. But it just shows that it's not Mark, it's still Marco Silva, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. He's actually got them beating the same drum. They feel like the Fulham of old, like the early years of the 2000s, and they actually look like a strong team that can actually compete now, and that's good to see. It's nice to have a team in and around London that's not just classed as a, in quotes, big six side that's just going to be, oh, we're here, and we're here, and that's it. We're here to challenge. Okay, we'll probably talk about Palace later on, but Fulham have a different view. It's not all about the Mitrovic show anymore, which is important. But they did well without him, and that's important as well. The fact that it was only 2-1 in the end. They got Haaland was offside for his quotes first goal, so that was rightly ruled out. Then you had the penalty, which was probably the softest penalty in the world. It does look like he has dived at one angle, but then at the other, it does look like the defender's touched him and he's gone down. So it was very soft, but I don't think it's a penalty for that one. There was a similar penalty incident. I think it was in the Forest game, what we'll probably cover as well, but that would probably be a different outcome. But well done to both teams, because it was a really good game, especially in the highlights. It wasn't just City peppering Fulham's goal. It was barely even. They were trying to make chances happen. Just on the stats alone, Fulham had 21 clearances to City's 4. So it did show how well Fulham have adapted since the last time they were here.
Yes.
What I will say, sorry, but what I will say quickly is on the penalty instance, we say it time and time again. It's not the actual incident itself. It's more the consistency of how they deem one thing as penalty, another thing as not. And you look at one thing and you say, "Oh, that was soft," but then you look at another one and you say, "That's a clear pen," and they don't give it. And it's the inconsistency that's the most frustrating part for fans. That you can have one referee go, "Oh, yep, that's a penalty," and then the next day you'll see a similar thing, and they'll say, "No, no penalty," or vice versa. If it happened earlier, no penalty, and then penalty later. That's the thing that frustrates fans. Example: a few weeks ago when we played Newcastle at home, Sancho was taken out in the box, no penalty. Newcastle probably could have had a penalty as well, no penalty, and it's just the most infuriating part.
Yeah, it's the consistency is always a problem, and it seems to be a constant issue with no solution for coming forward as of yet from the footballing bodies. Unfortunately,
That's all we're asking for: consistency.
Yeah,
just show consistency.
It's not much to ask, especially when that was what a VAR was supposed to bring, and it's kind of done the opposite. Okay, moving on to the next game. Now, this one, we'll give you a few seconds, Leicester fans, to wipe the egg off your face. Leicester beating Everton very convincingly, with James Maddison once again making a big case for his inclusion in the England squad, Abdi. And of course, Brendan Rodgers, currently as things stand, taking them out of a very, very difficult hole, it seems, at least as things stand.
Yeah, and this is one of the things where in the modern age of football, people are always quick to call for a manager to be sacked and change this and change that, and they don't really give the manager time to sort of steady the ship and turn things around. And Brendan Rodgers is getting the chance to do that, and so far so good. Really, they're out of the bottom of 3. I don't know where they're up to at the moment, but
14th.
they've picked up some big. Sorry, what was that?
14th.
14th. They've picked up quite a few points in a row now. They're keeping clean sheets. They're not conceding as many. Danny Ward is stabilising as their goalkeeper.
Have you got him in your starting 11 now?
I have not, and I wish I had now, because I would have got the clean sheet. But shame. Hope let me down. They conceded too late. But yeah, no, Leicester are stabilising now, and they're collecting points, and they're looking somewhat of their old self again. We'll see how long they can maintain that. I don't think they would have gone down. I feel like they're too much of like they've got too many good players to go down at this moment in time. I'm not sure who will be the ones to end up going down, because it seems like people go through dips and they'll drop in and then they'll move up or they'll move along. But I didn't think Leicester were really ever one of those ones. They've had a tough start, but they're moving it along and they're ticking along nicely. I think for them now it's just probably getting back into the top half of the table. I probably don't see them try and make a very late push for maybe the Conference League spot. I think that's just out of their reach in terms of that. Unless they just go on an absolute mad run. But I feel like there's better teams out there in front of them in that top 7 than them at the moment, unfortunately. So I think it's too much for them, but good win for them this weekend. Maddison, he should go to the World Cup, should be part of the squad. Shouldn't be just Mount or Maddison. It should be Maddison and Mount, both of them together. Why not? You want to take as many of the good players as you can, and Maddison's a quality player.
Absolutely, a very good player, and like he said to media people, he's done all he can to show to Gareth Southgate that he can indeed be in this squad. So hopefully he will be. Matt, talking about Brendan Rodgers, people wanted him out. Now a lot of fans who kind of phone up and said, at the time they thought he should have been sacked, and they still stand by that. But when you ask them if they want him sacked now, obviously they're saying no.
I would still sack him. Not going to lie, I don't like the guy. Mentioned it a couple of times.
Do you not like him as much as you don't like Brentford?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think he's just below Brentford.
Okay.
In terms of hate. But we do have some comments from Carlos. So, hello, Carlos.
Hello, Carlos. Welcome back.
And we forgot to say happy birthday to Stuart last time. So, happy birthday, belated birthday to you.
Happy birthday.
Your request, Carlos. Sorry for that.
Yeah, we do apologize for missing your message last week. We already finished the show, but yep. Thank you for coming back.
Hello. Honestly, not to change the club yet, but Man United, no surprise there.
What was that?
No surprise for the Man United game, but he goes on. He's got good shot, guys. I really like how you go deep into the main topic instead of BSing around the news like other sports broadcasters.
Oh, thank you.
But how long could that play style on the pitch really last realistically? I think he's talking about when you were talking about the playing style, Abdi.
Sorry, what was that? Sorry, I was just quickly reading something.
The playing style. How long can that last on the pitch realistically?
For who?
I believe was it Fulham?
Could be
Fulham.
Yeah. How
long? For Fulham, I think that they're doing fine. I know they had City at away. I know that's a tough opposition for most teams, but they still give it a go. I think they can continue throughout the season the way they're continuing. They don't really compete in Europe at the moment, so they don't have to worry about that. They don't have. I don't think they have too many people going to the World Cup. Leno might go as a backup keeper. Who else do they have? Mitrovic wouldn't be at the World Cup. Andres Pereira is not on the Brazil squad. But yeah, no. Fulham, there's not really much obstacles in their way. They just have to focus themselves, worry about that, and just keep on ticking along. It's not like the Fulham of old. The reason why I don't think it's they would have gone down, and that's why I said Fulham will do well this season, is because they just seem different from when they won the Championship. They won the title by a lot. They scored a lot of goals. They were attacking. They were defensively solid, and they were smashing teams left and right. I know the Championship is a lot different to the Premier League, but Marco Silva is a very good manager as well in terms of who they have from before, Scott Parker. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for him. It didn't work out for him with Bournemouth. He just scraped them, and then it got slapped 9-0, and then he got sacked. But for Fulham, I feel like they can keep it up. They have a good squad. They have a good team. They have a good first 11. They seem stable, and they have a clinical striker up top who will bag goals.
Yes, definitely. And Fulham are proving, I think, a lot of the doubters very much wrong this season, which is nice to see. It's nice to see a change. It's nice to see a team that always goes down actually make a good case for staying up, I think.
And that's the one thing I just want. Consistency. I don't like Fulham are one of those teams that started pissing me off a little bit. Norwich were another. Norwich are another.
They consistently went up and went straight back down. That's consistency.
Okay, yeah. No. That's the worst kind of consistent I want. Consistently inconsistent. Consistently inconsistent.
That's consistent. They always do the same thing. Consistent.
Yeah, true. But to be fair, it was getting boring. Just seeing a team go up and down, and the same team come straight back up. So I do like.
Back up next season.
I really hope not. I really hope not. I'd rather see Norwich go straight down into League One or something. Just stay as far away from the Premier League as possible. I just want to see new teams, interesting teams, make it interesting. Like Nottingham Forest, I know they tried to give it a go, but they don't look like they're doing that well and stabilizing. They look like they have too many moving pieces, and it looks like it's going to crash on top of them. But yeah, shame for them. But yeah.
It is a shame, definitely a shame, but well, plenty of the season to go. We shall see what happens. Right, moving on to Sunday fixtures.
I will say this, though. It will be interesting to see how the season progresses after the World Cup, because that is the big factor that I know a lot of people keep mentioning. But to have a big block of the November, December taken out by the World Cup, loads of people going off from the top teams to compete in a tournament that is like once every 4 years, the one that everyone's working hard towards. And then afterwards, to get there, the players that not only just win it, but the people that lose it, how is that going to affect them mentally coming back? It's going to be draining. It's going to be fatiguing a lot, especially for a lot of the top teams who are going to have to play straight after they come back midweek, Carabao Cup, then pretty much playing 3 days a week. You know,
and how it will affect teams that have actually had a break and didn't have players go off to the World Cup.
Exactly. It's going to be very interesting to see.
There's a lot of permutations. It's not happened before, so it's going to be very interesting to see how.
And that's why I don't like it. But it's still weird. The World Cup. I'll be happy for the World Cup.
Oh
but
yeah,
it just doesn't feel nice.
Coming in, so you've got really good ones as well. But I'm going to try and save them for the end because they are some. I'll just give you one of them. So, do you think Daniel Waters can be another top 20 of all time, or do you think that's going to go to another club goalkeeper? I don't know if he means Danny Ward.
I believe so.
Palace. Leicester.
Sorry, what was that? Danny Ward.
It says Daniel Waters, but I think he means Danny Ward, the Leicester keeper. To be honest, I thought Danny Ward was going to be a terrible goalkeeper.
So I think all of us did. To be honest.
I feel like the departure of Kasper Schmeichel was a very big loss for Leicester. He was the captain. He was the man between the sticks for a very long time. He was the big guy, you know. Just he was their glue, their rock, and then they could build off him. And Leicester are a clinical team. They'll take their chances. They'll attack. They'll score lots of goals. But the issue they had at the start of the season wasn't not scoring goals. It was just they were shipping too many, and that's why they're losing games. You take the start. They had I think they drew 2-2 with Brentford. They lost 4-2 to Arsenal. So they were scoring goals. They were just equally shipping as many. So it didn't help out, and they look to have sort of stabilized themselves. I wouldn't say Danny Ward he's a decent keeper. I wouldn't say he is a top keeper. I feel like he deserved a bit of a chance, and he's getting the chance to show what he can do. I'd say he's decent enough for them to progress for the rest of the season, but I would say eventually, if Leicester want to get back to where they were, they're going to need a keeper to come in and be their new number one, like a proper number one.
Just on the Everton front, before we move on from that, every time I've predicted something, Everton have gone and done the opposite. So, Frank Lampard, if you're watching, listening, can you please get something right? You're at home this weekend at Goodison Park. You had 2 shots on target, and compared to the 12 that you had, Leicester had 22 and had 8 on target. What's going on? It's Calvert-Lewin just not having one of his bad training sessions every 5 minutes. So it's just a nightmare at the moment. I've got Everton fans just looking at themselves to say, this is the new normal. What, you're 16th in the table now. You're creeping into another relegation fight. You're meant to be a Premier League team. Start acting like it. It's getting ridiculous. You've got a decent enough squad to be mid-table at best, and you're not even reaching those targets. You got
peaks and troughs, my friend. Peaks and troughs. He's going for a trough right now. They'll stabilize.
They'll
as
peak
well.
when they're in the relegation zone.
Yeah, pretty much.
We've got Bournemouth next away.
Oh no, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. We'll see, but I'm sure they'll get through that. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised either way. Really, I think it's a good game for Everton to try and bounce back before the World Cup and get some points on the board. But Bournemouth, they can just as easily take points. But for them, they've been sliding backwards a bit. They started off well on the Gary O'Neill, but if they have a 2-goal lead, they just seem to crumble.
Well, we'll have to see what happens. Moving on to Sunday fixtures then. This game went ahead despite some strange flood warnings and all that. Chelsea, Arsenal, and I will say this.
Let's ask you first, my friend. What are your thoughts?
I've said this on Sunday to people, and I'll say it again. Was anyone actually surprised that we lost? Okay,
no.
I wasn't surprised. I mean, okay, what happened at Brighton was a shit show. That's safe to say. I don't think I expected tricky, but I didn't expect one, a thrashing, and 2, that thrashing to be done mostly by our own players. But in this game, I think Arsenal had their wobble and we didn't take advantage, whereas Arsenal scored 1 goal only, but winning goal at the end. And of course, what didn't help is when Chelsea had their moment, the one person that didn't turn up was the 12th man. It was the fans. Once again, what stood out for me is the quiet fans. We were at home at Stamford Bridge. Why were the fans not rooting for the team a bit more? Okay, I know what happened in the last 2 games isn't great, but I'd like to see the fans actually try. In my opinion, it wasn't a terrible loss because the way Arsenal play and the way we play, that could have been a lot worse. Is it panic stations for Potter? No, far from it. It was our first realistic big test together with the United game in the last few weeks. We drew 1, lost 1, so not brilliant, but not
lost 2. Should have lost 2.
Anyway,
if we had a striker, yeah.
Yeah, you didn't.
I digress. No.
Oh dear. Well, never mind.
Shame.
We drew 1, lost 1. It could have been better, but we're closing out with a fixture against Newcastle, and I had people say that you could usually predict this game very easily. Yeah. And this time you can predict it also very easily, but just not in the same way. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, but we'll definitely...
I'm looking forward to that.
It'll be usually that fixture is not something you look forward to, but as we'll talk Newcastle in a bit, you'll see that actually that's going to be an interesting fixture. We need to get ourselves back. It would be a shame to go off to the World Cup on 3 defeats on the bounce, but we'll have to see what happens. I mean, we've got the players. They just, for some reason, the last 2 games, not done the job for me. But like I said, I'm not panicking just yet. I'm not expecting to win the title this season, but neither am I expecting to have to not finish in European places. Abdi, what did you think?
Well, I will say I thought the first half was pretty boring. It was a sort of a boring game to start with. I think second half it peaked up a bit. Arsenal just were more dominant. They look like the team more likely to score. They seem to want it more. You just seem disjointed and not really together. I don't know what's going on with you at the moment. maybe just growing pains from Graham Potter trying to figure out what works for him, what's best for him. But yeah, Arsenal, they keep on rolling. I know people saying, "Oh, you haven't played anyone big yet at the start of the season, all this and that," when they're trying to dismiss Arsenal. But I don't think anyone can deny them anymore. They're top of the table. They're on what, 34 points? How many points? 34 points or something like that. They have won majority of the games. I know they've only drawn one game and lost one game, but the rest of them have been wins along the board, and still top of the table, clear of City by 2 points. I don't think anyone at this point can deny that Arsenal are in a title race and are title contenders. Obviously, that can change. That can change unless Arsenal go off a massive hill. But at this moment in time, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think even after I would love to see how they do after the World Cup as well. But for now, I think I don't see them dropping off. I see them going to Wolves away and doing fine and getting the 3 points and moving along and then carrying that on through the World Cup. Waiting, I don't think too many of their squad is going to the World Cup. I did see Martinelli is in the Brazil squad. I wasn't sure if he'd go with them, but Gabriel hasn't gone. The centre back. So yeah, I don't think too many of their squads going, but quite the big ones are Jesus, Saka probably, Martinelli's gone,
Saliba.
Partey, Saliba,
Ramsdale.
yes, Ramsdale. So yeah, the big boys. I'll go. Switzerland, didn't it?
Yeah.
Switzerland, the World Cup. Yeah, okay. So yeah, quite a few of their players are going. But yeah, it will be interesting to see how Arsenal cope after the World Cup, as it will be for everyone else, as I said earlier. But yeah, I want to ask you, Matt, a question. What are your thoughts on Mikel Arteta at the moment?
Yeah, you were famously an Arteta out person, so it'd be interesting to get that your
I wouldn't really say out. I'd say I just don't approve of the way the owners went about it. First thing first, it's like if, for example, I had no experience in working in social media, and then all of a sudden I'm promoted to like the CEO. It just didn't make any. It doesn't make any sense. Why are you giving someone with literally no experience, apart from say I've got my own social media account. It doesn't mean that I should automatically run a social media account because of me just doing say one or two tweets, and then that's a couple of months and a few retweets, and that's it. But it's starting to all come together now, and
that's what I was going to say. It sounded a bit of a risky decision at first, but you have to say, looking at what's going on now, it's safe to say that risk was a long risk, but it paid off.
I do hold my hand up and say credit where credit's due, though, because it could have quite easily turned out better or worse. At the same time, you never know. You never knew what this team was capable of. He eventually decided to get rid of the players that he wanted out. Unfortunately, some of them it didn't work out with, like such as Torreira. He's now with Galatasaray. You've got players, obviously, Aubameyang went to Barcelona, and now he's at Chelsea. Just on that, that was not his idea. BT.
No, it wasn't. I did see the clip of them telling him
that makes
exactly.
it worse for me, because BT trying to wind up Arsenal fans, knowing
what
that
happened.
And
so
yeah, go on.
I'll let, so there was an advert that was promoting the Chelsea Arsenal game on BT Sport, and the advert was Aubameyang in it, in his Chelsea kit, obviously, saying Arsenal, I'm back, I'm blue, nothing personal, something along those lines.
Okay.
But those were the sort of the words. And that's riled Arsenal fans up and all that. And I get it. But I did see the clip of them actually filming that, and the person was telling him, say this, say that, and then afterwards he's just saying it and then recording. That's it. He was laughing, like he was going, all right, sure, whatever.
with
Yeah,
it.
BT knows what they're doing. They'll try and get hype for the game. They'll try and rile up the Arsenal fans up as well.
That's
But
not difficult.
yeah, and it's not. They're very sensitive, but we they are over there. But yeah, they they're enjoying their moment at the moment. And for their sake, hopefully it continues for them. It's been a while since they've been in this sort of position. Like you talk to an Arsenal fan week by week, you won't really have any issues. You won't hear any complaints, any problems. They just live in life. They're happy. There's no stress whatsoever. So it's just what Mikel Arteta's done with that club, turned it around and built it in his image, in his vision. So I think 150 games, and he's won 87, I believe, maybe something along those lines. I think he has a better record than Arsene Wenger did at this point as well. So
a huge telling would be for me if he was to be able to get the Europa League trophy that Unai Emery missed out on, Arsene Wenger missed out on. That would be a huge
a European trophy for Arsenal, the first European trophy.
Well, first European trophy since the Fairs Cup in '92.
Come on, the Fairs Cup. I would allow you if you had said the Cup Winners' Cup, because that would be recognised as a major trophy. But the Fairs Cup,
it's still a European trophy.
Come on,
so it's the Audi Cup technically, but
exactly. It's as legitimate as the Bangkok Century Cup, No, but in all honesty, Arsenal do have a decent chance of winning the Europa League. But I will say that could be being in the Europa League and then also chasing down trying to win the Premier League at the same time could be detrimental in the sort of the Thursday, Sunday relentless nature. I will say you guys have dodged a massive bullet by finishing top of your group. It's a load of BS that we have to play 2 extra games, even though we lost 1 game to a dodgy penalty. And that's the most frustrating part. And we'll get on to United in a second. But
if Frankie de Jong scores the winning goal in that fixture.
Just on that, Carlos has said about this game. Let's go Arsenal, but I'm sorry for Chelsea. There was no energy from the sides or the.
There wasn't.
That was a telling sign. There's actually, funny enough, a video that's come out via Twitter of just showing all the Chelsea fans getting their phones out and showing all the Arsenal fans celebrating with the Arsenal players. That seems a bit odd. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that.
I mean, I don't see anything wrong with that. Yes, well, it was a well-deserved win for Arsenal. It has to be said. I wanted a draw because I thought the draw would have been the best possible outcome. That wasn't the case, but we didn't lose 6-0 at least, so that's not too bad, is it?
I'll tell you what, just to bring it on to Chelsea just a little bit as well, is the fact that at the moment you've got 4 losses so far. I think you can get away with about 6 now before you get to the 7. If you lose 7 games in the season, you're basically out of the Champions League. So you've got at least 3 more games this season. 2 more games you can at least get away with losing. But
maybe, but it also depends on what the teams around us do as well. So
yeah,
that all depends.
It's very odd season
to put much on, really. Well, let's move to the 2:00 fixtures, shall we? And let's start at Villa Park. First game for Unai Emery.
Hello.
1 win. Mr. Unai Emery.
Good evening.
Good evening. At a very good start.
You just knew it was going to happen.
Did you?
Yeah. I was never looking forward to that game. Genuinely, I was not looking forward to that game whatsoever.
At least it wasn't actually Young that scored.
He came on, but yeah. No, even if he scored, I wouldn't really been fussed that much. It's a frustrating game because you just knew that was coming. Big game on Thursday against Real Sociedad away in Spain, and trying to put all your energy into that. And then after coming up against a Villa side who had all week off pretty much, new manager coming in, an actual manager, unlike Slippy G. And then
Of course.
yeah, and then they just flew out of the traps and swarmed us. We didn't look at it. We didn't look prepared. We didn't look ready. I don't think it was anyone specific that was bad. I think it was just us as a team collectively were just poor. And Villa were the much better side, and they raced to a 2-goal lead very early on. As soon as the first one went in, I was like, "Oh no, here we go." Second one, not a lot you can do. Free kick, lovely free kick from Digne. And then you think we were going to get back into it just before half time, and then nope, second half, they come out. I thought we were going to be coming out better in the second half because Ten Hag was talking to them on the pitch as well. And 5 minutes in, they just counter on us and then bang, score 3-1, game over pretty much from that point. It's a setback. It's a blow. I would have said probably a draw would have been the result if you'd asked me beforehand, but I didn't think we'd lose in that sort of manner. Just we need to pick ourselves up, dust ourselves on, and move on, and try and not let that happen again. But it probably will, because it's still a process for us. We're not there yet. We'll have games where we can win and we'll be fine and we'll do well, but there are holes in our squad that we still need to fill out, and we're going to struggle big time when it comes to the relentless nature of this season. We've got the Carabao Cup to contend with, the 2 extra games in the Europa League against Barcelona. Shock, who saw that coming? FA Cup's FA Cup's coming up, and then the Premier League that has to be squeezed in, and then you're just playing 3 games a week, every 3 days or something, or 2 days, or whatever it is, just squeezing. And we have 2 outstanding games against Palace and Leeds that we haven't played yet, and there isn't a midweek that's actually available at this moment in time to put those 2 games in. So unless we get knocked out of the Carabao Cup and they get knocked out of the Carabao Cup, or if we get knocked out of the Europa League, then there'll be spaces opened up in the season for it to be added in. But for now, if we go the distance in every competition, there won't be any room, pretty much. But it's fatigue is going to catch up with us all. I just think we're tired. I don't think we have the squad. We're missing quite a few players, but I will say, I know these all sound like excuses and stuff, but I think that they are fair. But at the same time, I will say, fair play to Aston Villa. They were just a better side. And sometimes you just come up against a side where they're just better. And I think that's what Ten Hag's going to learn. Like, you can't go into a game on Thursday in the Premier League and then afterwards just sort of half-arse it on Sunday against a side like Aston Villa. Every game in the Premier League, a team will even if they're at the bottom of the table, they'll sniff. If they sniff blood, they'll come at you. You know, they don't stop. They're relentless. So it's just we need to build on it. I think we missed Bruno as well. That was a big loss. He was our chance creator. But yeah, shame. Just got to pick ourselves up. Thursday. Why are we playing on a Thursday? They're actually mocking us.
Because you're used to Thursday night football this
season.
season.
Yeah. But yeah, Thursday, and then we're playing Sunday as well. So, anyway, enough of the ramble and the rant. Hopefully we can get through. If we don't get through, I'm not too fussed either as well. But 3 points on Sunday as well, please.
Well, we'll see if Man United will deliver your order. Matt, moving on to Villa, though. I mean, how far do you think they'll go under Unai Emery?
Well, he's come out in his presser and said already that you said Unai. He's trying to go for the European football, so I would think his best opportunity would be a cup at this moment in time instead of the league, because just looking at it now, they've lost 7 games. I'd imagine that will go to maybe past that 10 mark, which means they wouldn't even be eligible for European competition next season. But it's. I was just looking, funny enough, at both formations. He's changed it up. So instead of his doing the usual 4-2-3-1, he went for a 4-2-2-2 with almost Matty Cash and Luca Digne playing as wing backs, because you got Dondenka, Douglas Luiz, both almost playing as the defensive midfielders who could fill in those positions. And then you've got Jacob Ramsey and Buendia, who would then bomb on forward as well, with Ollie Watkins and Leon Bailey. But I'm just, funny enough, I am also looking at the United formation. They've got Ericsson down as defensive midfielder in the 4-2-3-1, and Donny van der Beek, who's, I believe that's his first starting 11 start for the season
in the Premier League. Yeah,
in the league. It just seems really weird that it kind of shows really that he's picked Donny van der Beek, and he's not really had the best of times at the moment in the Premier League, considering that he was at Everton last season on loan for the second half of the season. That didn't really work out. It's just, it feels like it's almost like he's wasted a lot of potential, and it's not down to United or himself. It seems to be almost like he's trying to prove himself, but maybe because there's other people ahead of him, like a Bruno Fernandes, or there was a few other, like a Christian Eriksen, that he just couldn't get into the squad. But fair play to Aston Villa. They look like a different side now, and if they've just got to keep up doing what they were doing, and just comparing the shots again. Man United had 8 and only 3 of them on target, compared to Villa, who had 6 and 4 of them were on target. So they are as long as they can carry on that, there's no reason why they can try and crack into that top 10. But I wouldn't say they'll finish any higher than that. You start laughing.
It'd be interesting to see. It'd be interesting. It's a very weird choice for Unai Emery. Very left field. But, hey, it could work for Villa. You never know. I mean, could get Conference League. It's a tough ask, but you never know. Stranger things have happened in football. Well,
they could win the Carabao Cup or FA Cup. If they win the Carabao Cup, Conference League. If they win the FA Cup, Europa League, I believe.
That's true, actually. Yeah, that could be true. To be honest, you never know with the League Cup who can be in there. Moving on.
City. That will be the big teams that win.
The married cities, they're married to the FA Cup apart from 1 year sabbatical. Moving on to the next game. We'll talk the third place Champions League places Newcastle in a minute. But first, we're moving on to Southampton, and it's the breaking news that Ralph Hasenhüttl, he survived 2 9-0 defeats, but he just couldn't survive being beaten by the Saudis. He's sacked.
I'm surprised it took this long, not going to lie.
Yeah. I said he survived 2 9-0s, but yet this one.
Yeah. I think it was just getting to that point. I think I said he'd be the manager that would get sacked first this season in the predictions. I know that didn't come true, but I was you could see where I was coming from with that.
Oh yes.
So they seems like they're going for Luton Town manager Nathan Jones, but not until sort of after the World Cup.
Rescue him.
Yeah. But I don't know. Southampton, they have a very young squad at the moment, young talent. They need to sort of maybe just freshen things up with a fresh voice, fresh personality, fresh tactics, fresh ideas, and just rejuvenate them. Because at the moment they're just sort of slipping, and they haven't really been picking up points. They got a good point against Arsenal a couple of weeks ago, but I feel like they were unlucky to not get 3 points in that as well. But yeah, he was a decent manager when he first came in. A very interesting appointment. But yeah, it's a shame. Eventually, time caught up with him, and it's been coming for a while. So yeah.
It has indeed. And on the other hand, I mean, Matt, you're more than welcome to put an opinion on Southampton, but Newcastle in third place with a lot of the players who actually weren't there before the Saudis took over. So you and you can't really blame it upon the money they're good for, really.
Yeah. So just on the Newcastle things, I've kind of already mentioned about them being possible Champions League candidates. If they, anything's possible this season, it seems. At one point, you had Leicester down at the bottom. Now they're all of a sudden a little bit higher up in 13th. No, not 13th because that's Spilla's spot. 14th.
14th.
That was a one-off.
Yeah.
But where this is the problem with Southampton is that they it seems to have been behind the scenes that have caused them the problems that they've had. Nothing on Ralph Hasenhüttl. He's had to do small things that Southampton have their own way. He doesn't. He might have a small say in the transfers. He might say that he needs. I'm trying to think realistically what they need. Well, they got rid of Oreo Romeu in the summer, so maybe they needed another defensive midfielder. They didn't get that. Instead, they brought in young players. And it didn't really help that the director of football, I think it was, who was at Man City, decided to come in and try and help the club out, and he was off within about 4 weeks or 6 weeks after that, wasn't it? Down at Chelsea.
Yeah, it was a bit strange.
That hasn't helped them out. They've now got in a bit of situation now. But if I'm honest, if you're looking at someone that's likes a project, who would probably give you a different angle, I wouldn't say play exciting football. On the Southampton front, is Sean Dyche. He does like a project, although it's not the greatest football in the world. He can get you the points and he'll get you over the line. Southampton needs to start fading away from these relegation battles. They should be heading towards the mid-tables. And again, they're going to be in a relegation dogfight by the time that it comes around. Okay, they got Liverpool away this weekend. Oh, God help me. That's going to be a nightmare on Liverpool. But it's going to be so hard for them to get over the line. I feel sorry because there's James Ward-Prowse in that squad, Shea Adams, Stuart Armstrong. There's some great players in that squad, and there's a huge potential for someone to come in and rise that talent and get it developed properly. Obviously, Ralph Hasenhüttl, he was a good manager, but he just got found out in the end, and it was too much. The fact that he's managed, the board put a lot of faith in him throughout those 9-0s meant a lot. And the people of Southampton never forget a manager who's been there through the hard times and tried to see them through it. And they will say they are saying thank you, and obviously they know the time was up. But if I'm honest, this new manager from Luton, I wouldn't touch him with a barge pole. Doesn't matter where Luton are. It's just people from Luton. No, don't touch him.
Hey, yeah, they're rescuing him. Come on, he can go to a better place. Leave him alone. He needs it.
Southampton is a project club, and if that's the direction they're looking in, and they're looking for exciting football, and Luton happen to have a manager they're willing to allow to discuss with them, then fair enough. And maybe it might work out. But again, similar to Arteta, he's not had any real Premier League experience, and it could end up coming back to haunt them. They might end up being in the Championship next season.
That's the thing, though. I don't think Premier League experience is the be-all, end-all of a manager. I know it's a good thing to have, but at the same time, I feel like it's better for people to get a chance at least to get that experience. You know, like with Arteta, he was an up-and-coming coach. He's young. He's one of your own. You know, and he was learning under probably one of the best managers in the world right now, and maybe even ever. But They took a chance on him, and they're reaping the benefits now. Even though a lot of people said get rid, but they stood firm, they held out, and now they're reaping the rewards of it. With the success. You never know what's going to happen with Southampton and Nathan Jones. You know, if they appoint him as yeah, if they appoint him as their manager, that's the whole point. You take a risk and a gamble on someone that you say, hey, I want you to be my guy. And if they succeed and they prove everyone else wrong, then you're justified and vindicated. But if they don't, then it doesn't work out. At the end of the day, you move on. I don't think Southampton will go down at the moment. I think they'll be fine. I don't actually know who will go down. I can say
It's hard to
for
tell.
I can say for a certainty with a hand on my heart, Nottingham Forest are probably going down, and Bournemouth might slip back into it. They're doing well for a while, but yeah, I don't know who the other one's going to be.
No,
It
well,
just keeps changing. Wolves, I think they're going to get out of it when Lopetegui comes.
Mm.
You know, yeah, that's another one. Julian Lopetegui, Wolves new Wolves manager.
Yeah, and he turned them down at first. Wonder what.
It was personal reasons, though, wasn't it?
Hmm.
So, and then he said, "Come back to me." He came back to him and said, "Look, I'm ready to talk now about it."
Oh, okay, fair enough.
That's a weird path
It's
that I will say
still
though.
a strange
Spain,
one, but
Real Madrid, Sevilla, Wolves.
could be worse. He could have gone to Luton. But yeah, Nathan Jones leaving Luton. You never know. It might help Luton get closer to winning the League One title next season. So you never know. Right, I'm moving on to.
Oh wait, well, before you move on, I want to talk about Newcastle quickly. Magpies, they're in third place.
Shiny.
Who would have seen that? I know a lot of people saying, "Oh yeah, they'll do well. They might be seventh or something or eighth or try and push for the Conference League."
I think they could finish seventh at the lowest.
Probably at the lowest, but I don't think they will. I think they have. I know a lot of people don't want to talk about it, and it's another taboo topic that, just like Arsenal as title contenders, that people don't admit. But we got to say it: Newcastle are not title challengers.
Easy.
Top four contenders.
Are you going to
They are
guarantee
definitely.
top four?
They are. I'm saying they're contenders. I'm not saying they're getting it. They are contenders at the moment with the way they're going, with their form, with the way they're playing, and they don't have any Europe to contend with. You look at everyone around them. Arsenal have European competitions to contend with. City, Chelsea, United, Liverpool, Spurs. They all West Ham. They all those seven have European competitions to contend with. Newcastle just chilling in the middle of it, and then they got the January window coming up, and they've got the money to spend, bring in more reinforcements, and then keep kicking on. I think it's a perfect opportunity for Newcastle to try and push for a top four spot while the window's open, really, and steal a place. I think two of them are already locked down with City and Arsenal. The other two are up for grabs, and Newcastle can take the chance and grab one from them. What Eddie Howe's done with them in the turnaround from rock bottom to third in the table in a year, it's a massive turnaround. And I know people say, "Oh, they've spent money." Yes, they've spent money, but come on, I would hardly call, without trying to disrespect the players they brought in. I feel like they brought in good players. They've been smart with it. They haven't been throwing the money like
That's exactly
splashing it
what I
on
was saying this morning on the
stupid
radio.
players. Yeah,
They've not been getting star signings just because they've got the money.
They've been getting players who are utility players who can do a job. Bruno Guimaraes came in, quality player. Alexander Isak was the only real big signing that they made for a big fee.
And as I've
Callum
said,
Wilson,
look at the players
Chris
that
Wood,
are doing well. A lot of them weren't actually bought by the Saudis.
Nick Pope, Kieran Trippier, Dan Burn, Matt Target,
Miguel
Joelinton, Miguel Almiron. He's turned a massive corner. Jack Grealish must feel like a massive prat.
Look at the managers the players that were there. Steve Bruce, and they are now picking up form. They are playing very well. Eddie Howe is getting a tune out of all of them.
Exactly, and Newcastle, St James Park is becoming a fortress for them. Their fans. Before it was doom and gloom and depression for 10 years under Mike Ashley, but now they're free. They've been unshackled. They've been unchained, and St James Park is just bouncing every time people go there, and it's going to be a very tough away day for anyone who goes there. City went there. They almost lost. They only just about scraped the point. I'm gonna be very interested to watch a game on Saturday between you guys and Newcastle and Chelsea. and see how Chelsea are going to do, because it's not going to be easy. It's really not going to be easy.
No.
They've only lost one game, and that one game they really shouldn't have lost. Have they lost another game? I feel like they haven't lost. They've only lost one game. I know they drew quite a bit.
They
Yeah,
definitely
they've
lost
lost. Yeah,
Liverpool.
just the one.
Just
It was-
one.
they've
Yeah, the
won
Liverpool
quite a lot
game,
of
which
games.
was
Yeah.
a load of BS. But yeah. For Newcastle, well done
Since
to them.
already
Good luck to them.
touched on Abdi, Carlos's question was, what do you think this is going to happen this upcoming season, and what changes are obvious? What surprises have you? I'm going to say have you enjoyed, because it says Orange Store especially for Newcastle, Villa, and Chelsea. So who surprised the most, Newcastle, Villa, or Chelsea?
Very interesting combination of clubs.
Is there another one that you could throw in the mix?
I
Some old
would
games.
say Arsenal have surprised me in terms of not in terms of them pushing for like a top 4 spot, but beyond that and going for a title charge, top of the league at this point. I don't think anyone would have expected them. Not even the most delusional Arsenal fan. I don't think. Actually, that's a bit of a stretch. But I mean, honestly though, I think for them they've had a massive season so far. I don't think Newcastle have surprised me too much. I was expecting them to do something this season, and if you look at their statistics from January to the end of the season, they were pretty much third in that table in terms of the points accumulated from that point onwards. So I'm not too surprised about Newcastle. If they finish in top 4, I will be surprised. I'm not surprised at the moment with the way things are going. Chelsea, would I say I'm surprised with Chelsea? A little bit in terms of the Thomas Tuchel sacking. I didn't think it'd be as early as it came.
It then came out that he wasn't agreeing with the American owners during the American.
Yeah, and
it became a less of a surprise.
Yeah, I thought it'd come eventually, but I thought it came a bit too soon. And then the Potter change and bringing him in, it was an interesting one, and I think a lot of Chelsea fans still were big fans of Thomas Tuchel and didn't want to see him go. And I don't know that I'm not sure how many Chelsea fans have warmed up to Graham Potter at the moment and are still longing for Thomas Tuchel to come back. It's similar to what happened with. I wouldn't say it's similar to what happened with Frank Lampard, because Frank Lampard actually kind of deserved it a little bit, because he lost 7 games or something.
I mean, he didn't deserve it.
I'm talking about the sentiment, the fan sentiment, in terms of people still love Frank Lampard, but because it was a COVID time, they couldn't be there to really voice their opinions and how angry and upset they were. But the Thomas Tuchel one, he came in, won the Champions League, and then after continued doing what they're doing. It's a bit baffling that they spend all that money and then after they're like, well, gone.
Hello, Steve.
Yeah. So yeah, Chelsea are an odd one. I think this season is going to be a very up and down one for them. With Graham Potter trying to find his feet, he is a good manager. He will find a way eventually. He's more of a project manager. You look at how Brighton are doing at the moment.
That took a few seasons.
He took a few seasons to stabilize. Look at the position they're in now in terms of Roberto De Zerbi came in and he can carry on the project of Brighton and carry it forward rather than them slipping backwards at the moment. So at the moment, everyone knows what they're doing at Brighton, and they're doing well for themselves. As for Villa, I am and I'm not. Again, I had them down as being doing a lot better. I had a little bit more faith in probably Gerrard than a lot more people. I thought he'd have with the signings they made. I thought they'd do a Conference League push at least, top half, bottom of top half, probably somewhere in that area. But now that Unai Emery's there, they might make that push. But yeah, those are the main sort of surprises. Did anyone else surprise me? I would have said Bournemouth, Bournemouth have, but they're sort of slipping backwards as well. I feel like after they sacked Scott Parker and they were up to 8th or something, that was interesting to see. But yeah.
Very good. Right, we move on to the last game then. Spurs, Liverpool, and Spurs gave Liverpool a tough game, but once again, only after they went behind. It seems to be a running theme at the moment. Spurs need to go behind to
So
actually want to do
frustrating.
something.
So
Uh,
frustrating.
and yeah, I mean, I was happy I got my Super 6 prediction correct. Not much else, but yeah. What were your thoughts, Abdi?
Well, typical Spurs. They love playing the anti-football, and they get punished for it. And then after they realize when they get punished for it, oh no, we have to come out and actually play football now. Why can't they just do this from the start? Well, they'll be much better off if they actually just go for it from the start rather than wait and then after fall behind and try and scramble to turn it around. You'd be in a much better position and do. I mean, they're currently in the top 4, but it's just it doesn't work. It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable the way they're going. They almost paid for it against Marseille in the Champions League last week, and they definitely paid for it against Liverpool this week. They caused themselves too much of a problem. Um, they just wait too long to turn it around and try and say, "Oh yeah, we'll go for it now." If they just go for it from the start, they'd be fine. Son, they kind of missed him a bit, but then again, maybe not. Richarlison, he hasn't been around for a while as well. Kulusevski came back. As soon as Kulusevski came back, big impact. Literally assisted for the goal for Harry Kane. And they should have kicked on from there. I thought they looked like the team in the ascendancy from that point forwards in the second half. But I feel like Liverpool done enough to survive and get out of there with 3 points. And it's a big win for Liverpool because they've got a game in hand over Spurs. And if Spurs had won that, they would have gone 13 points clear of Liverpool. But now that is reduced to 7. And if Liverpool win their game in hand, that's now 4. So, yeah, the Liverpool, I wouldn't write them off completely for a spot in the top 4. They still have the capacity and the capability of just turning it on and then pushing through it. So be careful of Liverpool. The perfect result would have been if both teams drew. That's what I was hoping for. But shame. Hopefully Southampton and whoever the caretaker boss is going to be for Saturday or Sunday, wherever it is, can get the 3 points against them or cause them a problem.
We're amazed to see what happens. Matt, what were your thoughts on the game?
I think Nick summed it up most when he sung Tottenham get battered in our WhatsApp group.
He makes a change that Nick sings it, to be fair.
Yeah.
It's very fun. That's the first time I heard it this weekend. It was very funny. Very funny.
So let's be real. You got both clubs. They're very up and down at the moment. You don't know what you're going to get. I think it was going to always be, if you had to predict it, you would have thought that Liverpool were going to score the first goal because of, as Abdi has said already, Tottenham only come out to play when they finally let in a goal. So the fact that Mo Salah got 2 and then they sort of just decided, right, okay, we've had our 2, you've got to go and score your 1 in the second half now, almost to sort of see how they could do. And honestly, I'm not surprised, and it's kind of good in the same way because although it does close the gap, at the same time it does. I have a feeling that Tottenham have been playing. I'm trying to find a good analogy, but you know, at parties when you were a kid, you used to play with a balloon and try not to get it on the floor. That's what Tottenham are trying to do with Champions League spots over the last couple of years, and they've gotten away with it time and time again. And when they shouldn't have. Okay, this time around they ended up being top of their group in the Champions League as well. We'll probably talk about that when we decide to have the our European show. But honestly, I can see Tottenham dropping out this year, because they're not really surprising anyone. It's the same old story. They're relying on the same old people again. Adding to that, Richarlison now, who's making that front three, making sure that it's a diving pool. I would have Liverpool up in that top four more than Liverpool. I think that's what I would have. I would have probably predicted that. I wasn't expecting, though we're talking about earlier who's been the biggest surprise. I think the fact that we've had Liverpool not even really title contenders this year probably speaks volumes. Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens over there now as well, because of the news coming out about that the group
Oh no, yeah.
sell the club.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Why?
That
Why
is a
couldn't it
very
have been us?
that's come on. That's a very random one. I was not expecting this to come.
I think it surprised everyone. I think they realise now that it's come to an end of an era, and I think Klopp is the end of that era now, and they're just going to look to shut up shop and try and
Steven
find
Gerrard
something.
era next season.
From the statement I read, though, it said investors and shareholders rather than a full-scale sale. It might be like a partial takeover, the way, like, you know how Arsenal, what happened with them? Someone buys a bit and then it sort of slowly
goes into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine that happening. But if that was the case, then I can't even think of anyone really on the top of my head that would benefit the most from something like that. I can't. Then again, I'm not really a business person. I don't really know that many famous or would have that sort of money. You're probably talking about
Elon Musk.
I don't think Elon Musk would turn around and spend £1 billion or
He'll
whatever
buy United.
on a club.
Like he spent 44 billion on Twitter on a bird app.
Yeah. He could take over another bird, take over the Canaries.
Oh no.
Get them all driving in Teslas around Norwich. That would help all the farmers out.
Free Tesla for everybody. Right,
Exactly.
there we go then. Any comments, Matt, before we close out?
Yes. So, speaking of Norwich, Carlos just asked us.
Are Norwich going up? Yes, they are.
Can you seriously, in order exactly, what would you say is right? It's a bit hard to decipher this one, but what would you prefer over Norwich, Chelsea, or Brighton? Is it more important to have the experience or the manager? I think it means the experience club of the players or the manager. What's the better fit with each of them?
Sorry, what's the question?
So I'll read it all out properly,
Go on.
but I'm trying to decipher it. Nice, I appreciate that one more. Can you tell me seriously, in order, exactly, experience or manager, Norwich, Chelsea, or Brighton?
Huh?
Norwich, Chelsea, or Brighton?
Yeah, I think
sure.
it means,
I'm not sure what you're asking.
Maybe the managers that are in
who
charge. Is
maybe,
Dean Smith still in charge of Norwich?
Yeah,
I don't
he is,
know.
but I don't think it's the manager. I think when it comes to Norwich, it's the owner's toxic business
Oh,
model
yeah.
there rather than anything else. When it comes to Brighton, the players learned from Potter and they carried this on. So again, the manager did a lot there because the players learned from it, and Roberto De Zerbi is now carrying that on. When it comes to Chelsea, the players are there, the manager's there, but the two aren't clicking at the moment. If we have to look at these two areas for each of the
It's
teams.
not his players.
No, it's not his players, but neither were the players at Brighton at first, and he made them play. So, as you said, though, he's a project manager. He needs time. I've said this about Potter before. He's going to need a lot of time to actually make anything happen. And if it's going to be long, the Chelsea fans will have to learn to sing and learn to be patient.
You might not get top 4 this season, so if
Maybe
you don't,
not.
be patient, stick with him.
But in the long term, we're going to do a lot better. I'll take it. If
exactly.
it means we're going to do better, but we need fans to be patient. I'm hoping that if we are patient enough, it will pay off. Obviously, you can't predict that, but that's my hope. Any other comments?
That is everything.
Okay, well, very good show. Very good show. Fantastic as always. Thank you, Abdi, for coming. Thank you, Matt, for
No
producing.
worries.
It was
No.
fantastic. Let's do some Twitter stuff. Abdi, we haven't heard your Twitter name in a while. Let's have you first.
Okay, you can follow me on the Twitter machine at aabdullahi26 at aabdullahi26.
Nice to hear that again. Matt, where can you be found?
I can be found at mattlr28.
And you can find me on at Subsonics UK. That's SUBSONIX UK. Most likely ranting about trains this week at some stage. You can follow us at Golden Goal TV on the Twitter machine. You can find us on Facebook. We've got a Facebook group. There will be stuff coming in World Cup related very soon. Keep your eyes and ears peeled. And of course, we've got the WhatsApp group if you fancy joining and talking with fellow football fans. And of course, we've got this channel. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Click that bell to receive the notifications and tell your friends.
Be ready. Be ready. A lot of goodness coming up. World Cup is coming up.
We're
It's
planning
going to be very good.
Abdi's going to say we're toast again.
Yeah, I probably will.
Yeah, probably. Well, we'll see what the squad is like. Hey, you can definitely expect more content towards the end of next week. Hopefully, that's what we're aiming for. We'll keep you updated with what we're doing, though. So yes, stay tuned, stay subscribed, and we will see you very soon.